Ooh, I cannot wait. Please help me welcome our Vanguard Award recipient, the one and only Mr. Andy Garcia.
Thank you. Thank you. I only have one regret, which was the flour chocolate cake is still stuck in my throat. It shouldn't have been flan, isn't it? Like a flan? Anyway, of course, I have to thank the critics for paying attention, I guess, you know, and being here and honoring me. This it was a real surprise. You know, one starts. You know, I relate so much with what everyone's saying here. It's almost like my same story. We all come into this world, which is an unknown world for us, where we come from, you know, wherever it might be. In my case, I came to the United States when I was 5 years old from Cuba as an immigrant, as an exile, political exile. With my parents the same way, where they came so we could be free to speak without any repercussion and fear, and to give us a place where we can pursue our dreams freely. And that's a blessing that I got from my parents. We had to start, of course, when you leave a country from nothing, but America took us in and gave me that opportunity. And in that process, we start getting, you know, seeing things that you would maybe not as easily be able to see where I came from, which was, you know, in the case of the living under a Castro regime for growing up, I would have never had these opportunities. But I fell in love with movies very on in my life, and I would get lost in them. I remember as a child, I would take two buses and live in Miami Beach. I would take the L down 71st Street and then take the K to Lincoln Road, and I would sit through these double features. And, you know, I was 10 or 12 years old. In those days, you know, it was very quiet, so you get on the bus by yourself as a child. You never felt any kind of fear. And I would sit through these double features. I'd get there at noon, and I'd be home like at 10 o'clock at night, so I keep watching them over and over again. And there were, you know, a lot of action-adventure films, like The Crimson Pirate or Captain Blood and Errol Flynn and Burt Lancaster and Steve McQueen, The Great Escape. I love you, America. Congrats. You know, of course, you know, the hero of the time was James Bond, you know, Sean Connery and The Magnificent Seven and, well, the Peter Sellers films. And I somehow these characters, you know, spoke to me. And I didn't even know I had a private dream about being an actor, but they were infusing and landing inside of me until one day I was just in high school. And I had basically grown up as you know, as a young athlete. I played a lot of sports, and I was playing the point guard on my basketball team in high school. And I got mononucleosis and hepatitis at the same time. It was worth it. But there went my basketball career. And I was also very enamored and very attached to watching I Love Lucy as a young boy and seeing Desi Arnaz. And in that time period of not having, you know, I was in bed for many months, and it was bad. So this other virus sort of took over because I didn't have the distraction of sports. And I took an acting class. I had been on stage a little bit as a child, you know, in community theater things, and I enjoyed it, but it wasn't nothing that I was thinking about seriously. And I took an acting class, and I was encouraged by this teacher in high school, and this other thing, sort of virus that was inside of me, this love of the cinema, took hold. And it was like a thing that I needed to cater to, because if not, it was like eating me inside. And I started taking theater in college and doing plays. But of course, at that time, now I was older and having sort of like already a private dream of maybe this is where I need to be in my life. I started to get exposed to films like The Godfather and The Godfather 2 and Midnight Cowboy and The Graduate and Mean Streets and Taxi, all these films that we've all grown up with. And these actors that one could actually associate with. There wasn't Clark Gable or Errol Flynn, people that also, well, I'm never going to be Errol Flynn, But there was people that you can identify with, and some of the people that would creep up would be people also of a culture that I would share, like Jose Ferrer and Raúl Juliá and Anthony Quinn. And you kind of, it starts going like maybe Desi Arnaz, of course. And you kind of go, whoa, maybe there's an avenue here. So, I went to school, and then after college being in place, I said, okay, it's, put up or shut up kind of thing. You got to say, well, are you going to do this or not? So a dear friend of mine, Stephen Bauer, a wonderful actor who I grew up with in Miami, was here, and he came over, and he was very successful very quickly, and he said, hey, there's work, come on down. There's a lot of work over here, And I showed up, and I didn't work for 7 years. But, I was studying and I was doing theater and all that, but, I was also working. The other day, Bryan Cranston and I joke a lot because we both worked at this place called Roadway. If you know those big trucks that say Roadway, and we get a job there, I got a call by another actor friend of mine. He says, hey, you can work at Roadway from 7 o'clock at night to 5 o'clock in the morning, loading trucks or unloading trucks. And I go, how much do you make? Oh, $150. And I said, okay, let's go. So he takes me in. We go to Roadway. I'm sorry, I'm going to digress, but this is actually worth telling, I guess. So, and this is where I met Bryan Cranston. And who knows how many other actors were there, But I get to Roadway, and basically imagine there's like an oval. In this oval of a track, there's all these crates that go around the oval like this, like if you're in Disneyland, like empty crates. And then backed into this rectangular warehouse, there's about 100 trucks, Roadway trucks, backed into loading docks like that, so all around the building. Imagine this triangle like this. Why am I telling this story? So we get there, and I'm 145 pounds wet, and I'm 22 years old, and the foreman, because it was a union, labor house, takes me to this 40-foot truck, has a seal on it, and he says, here's what you're going to do. In this particular case, I was what they call stripping, which is unloading. So you either load a truck that's empty or you strip a truck that's full. So I get to strip the first night I'm there. You don't want to see me naked. So he cuts open the seal, and he puts up this truck going like this, and the entire truck is sealed. Just you couldn't see it was just boxes, because they load them so the boxes obviously don't move when they travel. So he says, okay, so here's the thing. He gives you a book. He goes, you see it says here, number 506, 1 of 4, -4, meaning there's 4 boxes in this shipment, and it says 105 to 117. So you got to go to the rack and take, why am I telling this story? I like to thank my agents. So I take this thing out, you take the rack, you put it up to the thing, you take the 4 boxes, you load them on the rack, you put them on the conveyor. Some other guy picks up those 4 that goes to another destination. He's loading another truck that's empty. Sometimes if you get a pallet, you call for a tow motor, and that's why me and Bryan always go, tow motor! They go over and they come and take the pallet. Sometimes if you have a long thing, you have to ask help for the person next to you. And this is the moral of the story coming now. So there's a big pole like that. Meanwhile, I unloaded that whole truck by myself that night. That was ridiculous. So there was this long pole, and I called the guy next to me, hey, give me a hand with this pole, So I'm on one end of this thing, and he's on the other. We're walking this thing out of the truck. And he says, I haven't seen you here before. And he goes, no, I just started working. He goes, I'm just here as a part-time job. I'm looking for work as an actor. And he says, oh, I'm a producer. So The moral of the story is that we will always be having to help each other carry something out or something in. When I first came to town, and here's my strategy. I'm sorry, I'm telling these crazy stuff. I'm flashing on. I'm looking at you, and now I'm flashing on Tony Plana, and I got a Tony Plana story. So I came into town, and here's my strategy. I took 200 photographs, and I sent them to every franchise talent agent in Los Angeles with a made-up resume with 4 plays in college, and that I knew how to, shoot archery and things like that. And I got 4 calls back, and one of them would say, change your name, lose your accent, fix your teeth, and come back and see me next week or a year from now. And I got a lot of that stuff. But I met Tony Plana in this place called, probably people, the older, I'm not looking at you, Peter, because I say the older, I'm just looking at you. He said, I met him at Postal Pip Instant Press, which was a place where now the resumes are digital, but now you actually ask to go and, print the thing out. And I'm in line, and I hear him talking. I go, hey, and I see like that, and he's got this resume he's doing. He's got a really long resume. Tony was very prolific, and he had just won a Drama Desk Award for playing Sirhan, and I'm going like, hey, you're Tony Plana? He says, sí. He goes, ¿tú eres cubano? He says, sí, yo soy cubano. I just got in town. We met literally online. And he says, oh man, what are you doing? He says, no. He says, I'm doing a play Zoot at the Pantages, not the Pantages. What that other thing? No, it was in Hollywood, like on Hollywood Boulevard. You're no help, Peter. So anyway, he says, come to the play tonight. I'll introduce you to Eddie. Now, so now Eddie Olmos is there. I watched his play, and, Eddie Olmos was like a unicorn in this play. I mean, he came out like, hey, what's going on? And with the hat, and he did the whole play like this. I'm going, this guy's back. This guy's back. It's got to be on fire, I can't stand like that for 30 seconds, Anyway, and Eddie was like, ripped, he was like ripped. And he takes me backstage. And in typical Eddie Olmos form, why am I telling this story? Eddie is a young actor, Andy Garcia, Cuban actor that just came into Miami. I want to introduce you to him. And Eddie was sitting dripping wet like this in a chair from the performance. And I said, Mr. Olmos, it's an extraordinary performance. And he said, my name's Andy Garcia. I just wanted to congratulate what an extraordinary performance. He looked at me and he went like, I've been waiting for you. And I went, okay, and that's Eddie, But to that day, we've been good friends, So this community really, it was very small then. It was very, very small. There wasn't a lot of opportunity. It was very, very small. There was a Nosotros organization that was around. There were people that had been doing incredible work like Carmen Zapata and Ricardo Montalban, which I had the privilege to play one in a movie. But it was a very small group, and there was not a lot of work. Literally, the parts that were writing in 1978 and was like, gang members and maids. There was no lawyers on TV. There goes the chocolate. And so the opportunities to work were very slim, but somehow, like you guys are all familiar with this, you gotta stay in the game. You gotta keep studying. You gotta keep pursuing your dreams in order to get through. And eventually, somehow, a door opens, and you just gotta be ready. You gotta be ready for that one little opportunity that gives you the next one and the next one and the next one. And if people always ask me, I'm here because of the people that came before me. They're my vanguards. Am I a vanguard? If I have the blessing of being a vanguard in someone's life, great. But I had mine, and that's what motivated me to do this. And so it's important that we don't give up. I just wrapped a movie I wrote and directed. It took me 15 years to get it made. Yeah, last night. I literally wrapped. No, you don't have to clap. I was just saying it takes 15 years, and people go, Why did it take so long? Because nobody wanted me to make it. That's why it took so long. Everybody passed. Every single person in town passed on this story more than once. Friends would go like, I'm doing the movie for you, so you don't send me another script. And this is the truth. This is, for, at least in my life, nothing comes easy in life for all of you. Don't stop. Keep pushing. Fall forward. You're going to fall. Keep falling forward. I'll leave you with the thoughts that my father would always say. Never take a step backward, not even to gain momentum.